All right, so we're COMP1050 Animation 2D Tools, Week 1, Lesson 1, Part 1, and we're talking about Flash a little bit. But before we get into that, let's take a look at our syllabus for this course. So again, we're here in 8251. Actually, this one actually says the right room. We're meeting between 3 and 6, but we talked about it before. If you guys, we kind of waited this time because we didn't know who was going to come for the second half. But if we're going to be here from 2, right? So if you're available to come in a little earlier, we can finish earlier. We can get it done by 5. Or people, if you want to bring your lunches in during the day, again, between, instead of having our lunch between 2 and 3, we can have it, like, let's say, between 2 and 2:30 and get out of here by 5:30 or something. I can work through lunch, just like businesses do these days, right? Where they have a working lunch. And we get through and we get done faster, and we don't have to be here till 6. It's up to you guys, though. I'm not going to push you, and if I have to, I will be here till 6. No issues. We have a crazy course for this 14 weeks. This is a lot more packed, I would say, than the advanced programming stuff that we're doing for web. There's a few books I recommend. Definitely, if you're going to do this, because we're going to be doing a lot of ActionScript 3 in this course. Actually, the majority of this course, we can do ActionScript 3. We're going to use Flash to learn about Flash, the environment, the UI, and everything else. But I'm not going to, ask you to be designers, because I'm not an artist either, right? I'm more of a game designer and programmer, so that's where my strengths lie, and that's where I'm going to push you guys towards, right? That's me. If you were with Rui, the guy who did this course before, then he would have been an animator, and you would have done lots of animation. We're not going to do as much. We're not going to focus as much as animation on this one as we are. We're going to focus on game design and app design, mobile design for with Flash and Adobe Air that we're going to be doing, right? So there's a couple books I'm going to recommend. One of them is the one that I'm starting off with was Adobe Flash Professional CS6 Classroom in a book. My first, I think, 3 or 4 lessons will be with that. So we'll just be strictly that book is where we're going to start off with. So if you want some background, I'm going to include pretty much all the content from the book anyway in my slides. So you don't have to buy it, right? But come on in. Okay, it's okay. But so we're going to include all the content anyway. But what I'm going to do is I recommend that you start off with, again, Adobe Flash Professional CS6 Classroom in a book. I think it's a good start for those people who are interested in reading ahead and all that kind of stuff, and having a source book of some kind. Then I'm going to get into ActionScript 3 Game University, right? Because basically this Game University books, what it does is it talks chapter by chapter about different kinds of games you can build for Flash. And let's face it, Flash these days are used for 2 things primarily. Banner ads nowadays, right? A little bit of navigation, and that's not really 2 things, but let's say 1.5, half navigation. And the main thing that you can do with Flash is play games, right? There's more games being played with Flash than anything else on the web right now. Flash games are really popular and really lucrative, like money making, like totally. So we're going to talk about that a lot. So ActionScript 3 Game University goes through like platformers. It goes through things like, shooter games, all kinds of stuff that you can do with Flash. We did a lot of this stuff with Intro to Graphics when we got together with Intro to Graphics with Python, and this is just an extension of that. If you haven't done ActionScript 3, it's okay, because no one probably has. If you haven't done Flash, or if you've done a Flash course before, maybe you've done some Flash, a little bit of ActionScript, and that's okay too, because we're just going to redo it again from scratch like you've never seen it before. So don't worry about it if you haven't done it before. If you haven't done game design and stuff, we're going to go really slow again for those people who've done it before in Intro to Graphics. We're going to do some of it again. I'm going to take that Mail Pilot game from Intro to Graphics for those of you who are here. I'm going to convert it for you guys as an example and put it together with ActionScript. It'll work great, and it'll be a good demonstration for you guys to kind of make the bridge from Python to ActionScript 3 for those of you who have done it. And for those of you who haven't, it's going to kind of talk about those stages. All the stages of the game that we did in Python, we can do in ActionScript as well. So that's a really good one, ActionScript 3 Game University. The other one that's really cool is Introducing Starling. It's a free download from O'Reilly Media, right? So if you go there, Starling is another framework we're going to use, and it gives you kind of this a physics framework for ActionScript, right? It's a free thing. It's an actual library that attaches on to our ActionScript and Flash, and it uses Flex to build games with, but it actually uses the it kind of uses the GPU accelerator on even on mobile devices to really take advantage of Stage 3D and other kind of technologies that are available that make it so that you can have 60 frames per second and higher on a mobile device, which is really, really cool. You can take advantage of the GPU. So that's we're going to take a look at that. So introducing Starling, recommend if you can download it. It's a free download from O'Reilly Media. Okay, Flash O'Reilly Media. Yeah, Flash game development in a social, mobile, and 3D world. We're going to kind of touch a few things there as well because there's some stuff in terms of how to create games that are interactive and multiplayer games with Flash. Now, we're not going to be able to get through all of this. There's just no way. We only have 14 weeks to kind of touch on the interface and then start an action script. So there's going to be a bunch of different assignments. The first one that we're going to do is going to be purely Flash. So there's not going to be any action script or very little involved. And then after that, we're going to get into game stuff, right? So pretty much your first assignment will be all about how do I use the UI, what is Flash, how do I incorporate stuff from Illustrator and Photoshop, all the different things. How do I draw in Flash, those kind of things. Because those are the things that to build our assets for our game, it's going to be useful for us to do that. And it's a very cool platform. Like if you know Flash, as a web designer or developer, I think it's a great addition to your skills because it can make things a lot more interactive for you than simply making a regular web page. And we'll talk about that. So there's some recommendations. Again, I highly recommend you download Introducing Starling because the Starling framework is something that's up and coming for Flash as well as Feathers. Those two things, Feathers and Starling, they go kind of hand in hand, and it's a shortcut on how to use the Flash and ActionScript classes. We're going to get a lot into that as well on how to build stuff for real-world games. So I know it sounds like a lot, and you guys are like, oh my God, games. I've never made a game in my life, or I've made games in your intro to 3D, intro to graphics class, but it's been a while, and I forget. That's okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to go slow, and imagine that this class, even though you've done your intro to graphics, we're doing it we're going to redo some of the stuff again because it's been a while, right? We're also going to have, from a structure perspective, again, we're going to have 2 assignments. We're not going to have any exams in this course. We're going to do a midterm project, though, that I expect you to do by yourself. And it's probably going to be some simple game that I'm going to get you to build, very simple framework, and it'll be the exact same for everybody else. All right, so it'll be, hey, build a game. It's going to probably have a score. It's going to probably have some kind of basic UI, nothing that's crazy, and it'll be using ActionScript within the Flash environment. So that's probably your project number 1. And then it'll be assignment number 2 will probably be another little game. It'll be some other demonstration that I want you to demonstrate some skills. Probably going to be a scroller of some kind. And then the final project is going to be your own, where you have a lot of leeway to hang yourself. I mean, a lot of leeway to do whatever you want, right? So, and I'll give you some examples of stuff. I know, hang yourself there. I'll give you some examples of what you can do. So instead of giving it kind of an open, you can do anything you want, I'll give you 3 or 4 or 5 different things that you can do and the requirements within, right? Otherwise, people will hang themselves. By the way, I talked about having a team partner in first half. That's people who were together with me in web programming, advanced web programming. I recommend you get a partner for second half for animation 2D tools because you're going to need one for your final project, right? You're going to work within a team. This could be someone who's, one person could be super duper with their design, like they know how to design all your assets, and the other person's a great programmer. That works great too, right? I don't mind that. Or people can, both people can do things together. You can also do it alone if you're a loner type. If you're not someone who likes to work with anybody, you can do it alone. The trouble is, like I said in the other course, you're going to have it's going to be challenging, a great deal of challenge. Okay, so the first day today we're going to do getting started with Flash. We're going to talk about graphics, working with graphics and symbols today. So there's a lot of work we're going to go through today. We're going to get up and running with Flash pretty quickly. Next week, we're going to do adding animations. We're going to get right into animation and motion tweens next week. And then we're going to get into morphing as well. So how to use things like IK bones and all that kind of stuff where you can actually put bones into your animation, right? And create some kind of simple physics, right? Week 3, we're going to get into interactive navigation with ActionScript and a little bit more about text. Week 4, we're going to do some audio and video and loading and controlling Flash content. And that's it for Flash. After that, Flash is done in terms of the UI, and then we're going to get right into ActionScript. Week 5, we're going to get into ActionScript game elements, right? So how do we do that? Basic game framework in week 6, where we're going to talk about the stuff that's built into Flash. So no actual, for week 6, it's not going to be any, we're not actually downloading a framework. We're using the game elements that exist within Flash. But then after that, we're going to get into more advanced stuff. How to do animation just with ActionScript. So no Flash whatsoever. You just do everything through ActionScript. And then we're going to talk about mobile apps, because one of the options I'm going to give you is, do you build a mobile app? I'm going to give you the option, because some people are like, but I don't play games. And that's okay, right? If you're not a gamer, it's kind of, you'll be in a disadvantage if I make you build a game. So I might give you the option of developing a mobile app instead. We'll have to decide that as we get closer. So if you want to build a mobile app for Android or iPhone, there's some tools that we're going to talk about on how to do that in week 9. And then it'll be for week 10, and if you notice, it's the same thing. Week 10, 11, and 12, and probably a little bit of 13. I haven't put anything in there. It's all workshop time, right? Because you're going to need the time to build your game with your partner, right? You'll get your final project in week 10, right? But it'll be the same time that I'm going to still talk about a few things through week 10, 11, and 12. There's going to be a few things. It's not going to be like no teaching. There'll be some stuff we'll be talking about, but mostly it'll be workshop time. Okay, so lots of stuff to do, not a lot of time. 14 weeks is nothing when it comes to what we're going to attempt to do here. But at the end of the day, what I'm hoping to have is one really cool project that you're going to come out with. Like it's either going to be a mobile app or a game. That's what I'm hoping that you can come up with. And some of it's going to be to use with Flash, like Flash itself, but most of it's going to be with ActionScript. So again, we're approaching it from an ActionScript perspective. If you're not a programmer, who's not a programmer? If you're not a programmer, it's okay. If you don't think you're good at JavaScript or whatever, if you've done JavaScript before, then ActionScript is like brother, sister, mother, cousin, right? I mean, I'll say it like that, right? It's very close. If you've done object-oriented programming and you're okay with it, ActionScript is going to be okay with you, right? If you haven't done object-oriented programming, then you need to, we're going to have to get you to gear up on that, because that's going to be the challenge. The stuff where the most power comes from to do these games is to do it with an object-oriented methodology. So that's kind of the course in a nutshell. Questions? All right. I'm going to pause this movie right now, and then we'll start a new one with the next topic.